Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I am pleased to welcome you to this presentation on the root cause analysis of contamination. My name is Dr. S.K. Singh, and I hold a PhD in this field. Today, we'll explore how to identify and address the underlying causes of contamination issues. We'll cover key methods and strategies to help prevent future problems. So, let's get started and delve into this important topic together. So, what exactly is root cause analysis, or RCA? Essentially, it's a structured method we use to identify the true underlying cause of a problem, not just the surface symptoms. It goes beyond simply addressing the obvious issues and helps us find the real source of the problem. This is crucial because if we only treat the symptoms, the problem is likely to recur. The core principle here is fix the system, not just the error, meaning we need to look at the broader process or system that allowed the error to happen in the first place. In the context of sterile product manufacturing, contamination is a critical risk we face. Even something as minor as a tiny microbial presence can jeopardize patient safety. That's why a systematic investigation process like RCA is so important. It helps us dig deep to uncover the true cause of contamination issues, rather than just treating the immediate symptoms. And from a regulatory perspective, there's a clear expectation. Investigations must be scientific and data-driven. We need to rely on facts, evidence, and thorough analysis to identify the root causes accurately. This approach ensures we not only resolve the issue at hand, but also prevent future occurrences, ultimately safeguarding patient health and maintaining compliance. Let's take a closer look at the regulatory framework that guides our contamination control efforts. First, we have the EU GMP Annex 1, which was updated in 2022 to reflect the latest industry practices and standards. Then, there's the US FDA Guidance for Sterile Drug Products, a critical reference for ensuring product safety and quality. Additionally, the WHO GMP guidelines set global standards that many of us follow to maintain consistency and compliance. Now, a key takeaway from these frameworks is the mandatory investigation of any contamination events. This isn't just a good practice, it's a requirement to understand the root cause and prevent recurrence. Alongside this, implementing CAPA, which stands for Corrective and Preventive Actions, is essential. This approach helps us address immediate issues and put measures in place to avoid future problems. Another important concept is the adoption of a contamination control strategy, or CCS. This is a comprehensive plan that integrates all controls and practices to minimize contamination risks effectively. Moving on, let's consider the different types of contamination we need to be vigilant about. Microbial contamination, such as bacteria and fungi, can pose serious risks to product safety. Particulate contamination, like dust and fibers, can compromise both the quality and the sterility of our products. Pyrogens and endotoxins are also critical, as they can induce fever and other adverse reactions in patients. Finally, cross-contamination is a significant concern, especially in environments where multiple products are processed. It can lead to product mix-ups or safety issues, so strict controls are necessary to prevent it. All these points connect back to our overall goal: maintaining the highest standards of safety and quality through robust regulatory adherence and contamination control measures. When do we really need to perform a root cause analysis, or RCA? Well, there are several situations that signal the need for a thorough investigation. For example, if there's an environmental monitoring excursion, meaning if the environmental conditions outside of acceptable limits occur, that's a clear sign. Similarly, a sterility test failure or a media fill failure also indicate potential issues that require us to dig deeper. Out-of-specification microbial results are another critical trigger, because they suggest contamination or process failure that can't be ignored. Now, let's talk about the sources of contamination that contribute to these problems. One of the major contributors is personnel. People are often the biggest risk factor. Equipment and surfaces can also harbor microbes if not properly cleaned or maintained. Air quality is another critical factor. Failures in HVAC systems or breaches in HEPA filters can allow contaminants to enter the clean environment. Raw materials, if not properly tested or handled, can introduce microbes or particulates. And finally, process failures. Any deviations or errors in the manufacturing process can compromise the entire product. Connecting all this back to our overall theme, understanding these triggers and sources helps us identify where things can go wrong so we can implement targeted corrective actions. This is essential for maintaining the integrity of our quality systems and ensuring patient safety. Now let's take a closer look at the fishbone diagram categories. These categories help us identify the potential causes of a problem by organizing them into different areas. First, we have man, which refers to personnel or human factors that might influence the issue. Next is machine, covering the equipment involved in the process. Then, there's method, which looks at the processes or procedures in place. Material refers to the raw materials or components used, and environment considers the broader surroundings or conditions where the process occurs. Measurement involves the data and metrics we use to assess performance. Moving on, we'll review some key RCA, or root cause analysis, methodologies. The fishbone diagram, also known as the Ishikawa diagram, is a visual tool that helps us systematically explore potential causes. The 5 whys analysis pushes us to ask, why, repeatedly until we reach the root of the problem. Fault tree analysis, or FTA, is a more structured approach that maps out possible fault pathways. Lastly, failure mode and effects analysis, FMEA, helps us evaluate potential failure modes and their impacts before they actually happen. It's important to remember that regulatory expectations now favor using risk-based scientific tools like these. They provide a structured, evidence-based approach to identifying and mitigating risks effectively, which ultimately helps us ensure product safety and quality throughout the process. In this slide, we're looking at a second case study focused on sterility failure. The key observation here was a sterility test failure in an injectable product, which obviously raises serious concerns about product safety. The investigation traced the issue back to contamination occurring during the aseptic filling process. This is a critical step, where maintaining a sterile environment is essential. The root cause was identified as an intermittent airflow disruption caused by an HVAC issue. This kind of disruption can compromise the sterility barrier, allowing contaminants to enter the product. To address this, the CAPA involved HVAC validation and conducting an airflow visualization study. These steps help ensure that the airflow remains consistent and properly controlled during production, preventing future contamination risks. Connecting this to the overall theme, it highlights how equipment and environmental controls are vital in maintaining sterility. Even small disruptions can lead to significant failures, emphasizing the importance of thorough validation and ongoing monitoring. Let's take a closer look at data trending and investigation. First, it's important to review trends over time, not just focusing on single events. By looking at the bigger picture, we can identify patterns that might indicate underlying issues. This helps us spot recurring contamination patterns, which are often missed when only examining isolated incidents. To do this effectively, we should utilize statistical tools. These are essential for analyzing complex data and uncovering subtle trends. Trending is actually a requirement under EU GMP Annex 1, so it's not just good practice but a regulatory obligation. When we observe a trend, it's crucial to document everything thoroughly. This means preparing a detailed investigation report that clearly lays out what happened, why it might have occurred, and the evidence supporting our conclusions. We also need to identify the root cause of contamination in a scientifically justified way. This isn't guesswork. It's about solid, data-driven reasoning. Once we've implemented corrective and preventive actions, or CAPAs, we should verify their effectiveness to ensure the issue has truly been resolved. Lastly, all of these steps should be properly recorded in an audit trail to maintain compliance. This comprehensive approach not only aligns with regulatory expectations, but also enhances our overall quality management system, ensuring contamination issues are managed proactively and effectively. Let's take a closer look at some of the common challenges we face in root cause analysis. One major issue is the presence of multiple contributing factors. Often, when an incident occurs, it's not just one simple cause, but a combination of several elements working together. Identifying all these factors can be quite complex, but is crucial for effective solutions. Another challenge is the lack of sufficient data. Without enough reliable information, it becomes difficult to pinpoint the true root cause. This can lead to assumptions or incomplete conclusions that don't address the core problem. Human error bias also plays a significant role. Our own perceptions and biases can influence how we interpret the data or assign blame, which can skew the analysis. Being aware of this bias is essential to maintaining objectivity. Finally, inadequate training is a common hurdle. If the team isn't properly trained in conducting thorough root cause analysis, the process can be superficial or flawed, ultimately undermining the entire effort. These challenges highlight why root cause analysis can be so intricate, but understanding them is the first step toward improving our approach and ensuring more accurate, effective outcomes. Let's wrap up with the conclusion. RCA, or root cause analysis, is absolutely essential for ensuring sterility assurance. It's not just about identifying what went wrong, but doing so in a way that is scientific, systematic, and fully compliant with regulations. When we conduct strong RCA, we can prevent the same issues from recurring in the future. This proactive approach ultimately helps us safeguard patient safety, which is always our top priority. Remember, thorough and effective RCA is a key part of maintaining the highest standards in sterilization processes. For further support, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you have any questions or need additional information, I'm here to help. You can contact us through the details provided, and we'll be happy to assist you. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate your interest and engagement. Remember, we're always here to support your success, so don't hesitate to get in touch if needed. Thanks again, and have a great day.